It was a Saturday night on Indonesia's west coast, the air filled with music and laughter as families crowded the beaches. Minutes later, a deadly wave, born in complete silence, erased celebration and claimed over 400 lives, with no warning, no alarm, and no chance to escape. How did a peaceful concert become ground zero for the tsunami no one saw coming? Saturday, December 22nd, 2018, brought a gentle warmth to Indonesia's west coast. The sun had set, but the beaches remained alive with the hum of families, friends, and co-workers, savoring the last weekend before the holidays. Tanjung Lesung Resort in Banten pulsed with excitement as employees from the National Electricity Company, PLN, gathered for their annual family celebration. Children darted between rows of white-clothed tables, their laughter blending with the distant rhythm of surf. Parents watched from the sand, some swaying to the music, others sharing stories under strings of lanterns. Young couples strolled along the water's edge, their feet sinking into the cool, damp sand. The air was thick with the scent of grilled seafood and the promise of a night to remember. On stage, the band 17 tuned their instruments, preparing for the headline performance. The crowd pressed closer, eager for a favorite song. Behind the scenes, event staff checked sound levels and adjusted lights, while vendors sold cold drinks and snacks to clusters of teenagers. The shoreline glowed with lanterns and cell phone screens as people captured memories, unaware of the darkness gathering far offshore. The night felt safe, almost ordinary, a tapestry of voices, music, and gentle waves. No one glanced toward the distant horizon. There was no hint of danger, no reason for worry. For a few precious moments, the world was only celebration, connection, and the joy of being together by the sea. 17's music soared above the surf, drawing the crowd closer under the tense bright lights. The band's lead singer, Rifian Fajarsia, stood at the microphone, his voice carrying over the laughter and applause. Bassist Muhammad Awal Purbani and guitarist Herman Sikumbang played side by side, lost in the rhythm. Road manager Oki Wijaya watched from stage left, keeping an eye on the equipment, while crew member Ujang managed the cables near the drum kit. Families danced, children perched on their parents' shoulders, and cell phones captured the celebration. Without warning, a wall of black water surged from the darkness behind the stage. There was no roar, no time to react, just the sudden, unstoppable force of the sea. The wave struck with brutal speed, lifting the entire stage and hurling it inland. Metal scaffolding twisted, speakers toppled, and the band was swept away in the middle of the performance. Video from the crowd's phones caught the moment. Lights flickering, sound shattering, bodies vanishing under the water. In seconds, the music was replaced by chaos. 4 lives ended on that stage. Muhammad Awal Purbani, Herman Sikumbang, Oki Wijaya, and Ujang, all lost to the sea. Rifian Fajarsia survived, clinging to debris as the current pulled him from everything he knew. In the confusion, he searched desperately for his wife, Dylan Sahara, who had been standing just beyond the lights. The celebration was gone, replaced by silence and darkness, as the wave carried away the stage, the band, and the world they had known only moments before. Across the Sunda Strait, the aftermath revealed devastation on a scale few could comprehend. In the darkness, families called out for loved ones, their voices lost among the ruin of shattered homes and tangled debris. The official count would reach 437 people dead, but the true toll extended beyond numbers. More than 14,000 people were injured, some pulled from the wreckage by neighbors, others carried inland by the force of the water, left battered and alone. Over 33,000 residents found themselves suddenly homeless, their villages flattened, their belongings scattered or swept away. Waves up to 5 meters high had crashed through beachfront resorts, fishing villages, and crowded markets. In some places, bodies were discovered kilometers from the shore, carried inland by the unstoppable surge. Children were torn from their parents' arms. entire families vanished in moments, leaving only fragments of their lives behind. For many, there was no warning, no escape, just the sudden arrival of black water and the roar of destruction. Volunteer rescuers arrived before sunrise, searching for survivors in the mud and rubble. Fishermen used their boats to ferry the injured to makeshift clinics set up in mosques and schools. Pickup trucks became ambulances, carrying the wounded down roads choked with debris. In the days that followed, the true scale of loss became clear, not just in the number of dead and injured, but in the faces of those left behind, grieving for homes, for neighbors, for the world washed away in a single night. Anak Krakatau had been restless for months, sending up columns of ash and lava that glowed red against the night sky. Satellite images showed a cone growing ever steeper, its southern flank looming over deep water. Volcanologists monitoring the volcano noted a steady drumbeat of tremors, a sign of magma shifting below the surface. By late December 2018, the island was under constant watch, yet the true danger remained hidden beneath layers of rock and ash. On December 22, 2018, the volcano's southwestern side gave way. In a matter of seconds, an estimated 150 million to 250 million cubic meters of rock and debris plunged into the sea. The collapse was sudden and massive, enough material to fill tens of thousands of Olympic swimming pools, vanishing from the island's profile in a single violent movement. The height of Anak Krakatau dropped from 338 meters to about 110 meters almost instantly, a transformation recorded by radar satellites and confirmed by bathymetric surveys in the weeks that followed. Despite the scale of this event, seismic networks registered only faint, ambiguous signals. Unlike a tectonic earthquake, which sends shockwaves racing through the earth, a volcanic landslide transfers its energy mostly into the water. The collapse was nearly silent to instruments tuned to detect the sharp jolt of a fault rupture. For scientists, this posed a confounding problem. The physical trigger for the tsunami, a massive mass movement, left barely a trace on the systems designed to provide warning to coastal communities. Geomorphic reconstructions using satellite radar revealed the missing flank and a fresh submarine deposit stretching into the caldera. The instability that led to the collapse had been building for years, but the final break came without warning, invisible to the sensors meant to protect those living and celebrating along the shore. Indonesia's tsunami warning system was built on a simple assumption that disaster would always announce itself with a violent earthquake. Seismic sensors, hundreds of them, dotted the islands and seabed, listening for the sharp jolt of tectonic plates. Algorithms scanned those signals and stood ready to trigger alerts if a quake of the right size and location struck. On December 22, 2018, the sensors registered only the faint, ambiguous tremor of a restless volcano. Nothing matched the patterns the system was trained to recognize. No alert was issued. Deep ocean buoys designed to confirm tsunami waves offshore had long since fallen silent. Vandalism, theft, and years of neglect left most of Indonesia's 22 buoys inoperative. In the Sunda Strait, not a single functioning buoy stood between Anak Krakatau and the crowded beaches. Maintenance logs reviewed after the disaster revealed a pattern of missed repairs and dwindling budgets. Officials had warned about the risks, yet the network remained crippled. Without a seismic trigger, the algorithm stayed quiet. No sirens sounded along the coast. The only warning came as a distant roar, too late for anyone to react. Independent experts had raised concerns for years, urging the inclusion of volcanic and landslide scenarios in the warning protocols. Yet in 2018, the system still relied on earthquake logic, blind to the silent collapse that set the sea in motion. When the waves receded, the failure was plain. The warning system had not simply missed a signal, it had never been listening for the right kind of danger. The gap between what was possible and what was protected revealed itself in the loss of hundreds of lives. In the silence that followed, calls for accountability grew louder. The coast, once a place of safety and celebration, had been left defenseless by a system built for the wrong disaster. Today, over 20 million Indonesians live within reach of tsunami zones, while volcanoes like Anak Krakatau remain restless. Technology advances, but nature's silence still holds the upper hand. Our only real warning is vigilance, because the next wave may arrive before we ever hear it coming.